David Moyes has got a huge opportunity to prove a lot of people wrong today, and I think he's going to come out fighting. I really, really do. It's been an interesting few days, actually, and David Moyes himself has kept relatively quiet. He's said very little. He said so little, in fact, that he didn't particularly boast about the fact that Jarrod Bowen was available. But there was a really odd thing happened, whereby the Sky Sports cameras were clearly invited down to the West Ham training ground. Now, I've been to that training ground, make no mistake about it. You want to keep cameras out of there, you keep them out of there. There's no angle from which you can film. So they've very much been invited in. So not only were the cameras invited in, they were invited in and allowed to really focus on Jarrod Bowen, who was training. Now, the messaging was clear here. Jarrod Bowen's fit. Now, David Moyes would have sanctioned that. In fact, I would suggest he'd even encouraged it. I think it was a contrived thing to do. I think it was a good thing to do. When I say contrived, I just mean it was planned. It was, the whole thing was a planned exercise. So whilst the pictures that you were seeing are of Jarrod Bowen running around and looking fit, it sends out that messaging, doesn't it? The words that came out of David Moyes' mouth were more cautious. Oh, I'm not sure. Okay, I get it, and I get why he was doing. No one was buying it. But that is why it's been interesting the last few days, because David Moyes has kept himself and his counsel whilst his friends have been running their mouths off. And it's been an interesting thing, actually, because it's felt like a little bit of a campaign against West Ham fans, actually. And I don't want to sit here and actually overly play the victim. I'm a big boy. I can take care of myself in terms of those things. And I think possibly David Moyes' allies, or his henchmen, whichever you want to call it, would certainly probably suggest that there's been a campaign from West Ham fans against David Moyes. So maybe there's a bit of tit for tat there on that one. But it's pretty relentless, and it keeps coming. And whilst David Moyes has kept his views to himself, the messaging from Alan Brazil, Alan Shearer, Stuart Pearce, Sam Allardyce, any of these people, and there's more than that, a lot more than that, insert your names down below, has been clear. David Moyes deserves better. The West Ham fans, we are led. I think we're painted as being quite a deluded bunch, but more than that, entitled. We're entitled. So as I've said on numerous occasions, last 3 games, they reframe the argument. So whilst none of us are saying we deserve more, we deserve to be in the top 4, that's what they're applying that to us. So the media, all those cronies are saying that's what West Ham fans want. They're entitled bunch. We're not, and it's not reflective, but that's okay. But David Moyes has kept his counsel to himself. And what was interesting, with a few more revelations of that ridiculous podcast that Sam Allardyce did, the No Tippy Tappy Football podcast with Sam Allardyce, was what was clear was what the information that Stuart Pearce had been armed with on that. And Sam Allardyce knew the answer to this question. This is the thing, to swallow this stuff whole, you've got to swallow the lies. They take you for fools. Sam Allardyce sat there and he said, pretty much said, tell me, Stuart, has David Moyes been offered that contract yet? Like he didn't know. Oh, come on, honestly, I don't know who they think they're fooling, right? At that point, Stuart Pearce displayed a real encyclopedic knowledge of David Moyes' contractual situation. I'm not going to go on to what Sam Allardyce said, but it was what Stuart Pearce's response was. He seems to know all the details. No, he's not been offered one, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, he went and said all of this stuff. Now, if we assume that he's right, and I think he is right, Stuart Pearce is right, he knows all the details of David Moyes' contract, then you also have to assume that actually he's spoken to him recently. And if he's spoken to him recently, you also have to assume that the views that Stuart Pearce has about the entitled view of West Ham fans probably shared by David Moyes. David Moyes probably does think that actually we should be more grateful towards him, that the view of our history. We've heard David Moyes hints at it. So David Moyes will often say, I don't know how many, I don't know what West Ham have won in the past, but I doubt they've had 3 seasons back-to-back European competition. He says it a lot. Again, he knows the answer. But he's putting that question out there because he knows in himself it sounds a bit crass to say, I'm the best manager around here and West Ham have never had it as good as me. He knows it's crass to say that. So he puts the question out there. I'm not sure if anyone's ever done as well as me. He knows the answer. So I think with all that, it's all being put out there. David Moyes is not saying it, but clearly he's wounded. He's a wounded guy, right? With that, when David Moyes is wounded and when David Moyes has his back to the wall, I tell you now, he comes out fighting and he does it every single time. And it's every time we've ever heard or read that story, David Moyes got 3 games to save his job. If he doesn't get a win in the next 3 games, you've heard it so many times before. I'll tell you what, he gets them. Invariably gets them. When his back is to the wall, he tends to come up with something. When he's on the back foot, he can come out fighting. Now, obviously, the frustrating thing about that is he's so rarely is he on the front foot, which is probably why we've found ourselves with as leaky a defence as we have this season, because that character trait, I feel, manifests itself within his tactics. But that doesn't mean he can't come back from it tonight. I mean, it's going to be hard. It's going to be next to impossible. 2-0 down against a team as adept as Leverkusen is going to be really, really hard. But there's fight and there's spirit in that man. There's no doubt about it. He is irked, absolutely irked by the criticism that he's received. And it ain't the criticism of the media because he's not getting any. It's the criticism of the fans. And him fighting back, well, basically, all those people, be they Alan Shearer or Stuart Pearce or Alan Brazil or any of the other people, that is David Moyes fighting back. They all say too similar a thing for it to not be so. It's actually one of the reasons, I believe, that I sort of begrudge the football media being so populated with former players. It's so hard to be impartial, so hard. I say not one of them. There will be 1 or 2 who will ask the question and say, well, hold on a second, they haven't won much recently. Hold on, look at their defensive record. Hold on, look at this, look at that. Any of the things we might be arguing ourselves as fans. But by and large, they don't. And it's a shame because the media is worse because of it. And I do think that former footballers have got their place in the media. I absolutely do. However, I don't know if you ever watched the Sunday Supplement. The Sunday Supplement used to be excellent. It may well still be excellent, but it was journalists. You know, Gabriel Marcotti, he's brilliant, right? He's brilliant. Raphael Hollenstein, what a great, perceptive journalist he is. A really great football mind. Guillaume Balaguer, I always used to enjoy Guillaume Balaguer. Rob Shepherd, he was always really good on the Sunday Supplement. John Dillon, excellent as well. Martin Samuel, probably the best of the lot. These are sharp minds who have spent their... Not only have they spent their life watching football, but I think they've spent a lot of their creative energy sort of working out how to talk about football, how to write about football. And that means they can convey a message really, really well. And it's easily dismissed by the mob that always say, well, you never played the game, it doesn't count. Well, but it used to. It used to. But being able to watch lots of games used to count. And I think the trouble is the journalists don't necessarily have an affiliation to any boss or player. It's awkward. It's awkward for Alan Brazil to criticise David Moyes. It's awkward for Alan Shearer to criticise David Moyes. It's awkward for Stuart Pearce to criticise David Moyes because they know him. And they're going to bump into him. And that's hard, you know? I mean, I'm pretty sure just on a human level, that's a hard thing to do. To criticise somebody that you know openly. So they just don't. They take the easy way out. What they do, they criticise West Ham fans because that's the easier thing to do. So we know that David Moyes is irked. We know that David Moyes is distressed by this. But I think he's going to come out fighting. But before I talk any more about David Moyes coming out fighting, can I please point you in the direction of today's video sponsor, which is Manscaped. I don't know how many more times I've got to show you my lawnmower, but quite a lot. There you go. This is the Lawnmower 5.0. This is a really snazzy piece of kit. It's not just a Lawnmower 5.0, which I'm probably meant to speak about this more than the other things, because this is the latest thing. But I've got to say, the beard trimmer that Manscaped do is absolutely exceptional. All their products are magnificent. My toiletry bag is now completely replaced with Manscaped products. I've been using this stuff for years and years and years. I'm talking about beard trimmers and things like that. Nothing even remotely comes close. This particular thing here has got ceramic blades. Why are ceramic blades important? Well, they don't pinch your skin when they move across each other in the same way that a metal blade does. They're waterproof. It means you can use these things in the shower. It's got a torch. I don't know why you'd need a torch, but it's got a torch anyway. A lot of them have wireless charging. There's a load of products. But best of all, we're going to give you 20% off of all of those products. Now, to do so, when you go and you click on the link below, which will take you to the Manscaped website, Put whatever you want to put in your basket. By the way, the nostril trimmer is particularly good as well, by the way. Use the discount code HammersChat20, or one word, HammersChat20 in discount code. You'll get 20% off, plus we're going to chuck in free shipping as well. These guys have been sponsoring Hammers Chat for a long, long time now, and there's a reason that we partner up with them, and a lot of our other partners that we partner up with as well, be they Match Bingo, etc., have been with us a long, long time. We honestly do believe that the service that these people and these companies provide are exceptional. Give it a whirl, give it a try. The link's in the description below. Manscaped products, absolutely amazing. Talking about a close shave, I don't know if we're going to be able to take this game to a close shave tonight. But David Moyes, it was interesting to listen to his comments. He said we've got to be smart. We've got to be smart about this game. And I guess there was a part of me that was worried that what would happen if we got to a point where we'd drawn level on the game. Would David Moyes then retreat into a defensive shape or a defensive mindset again? I guess I shouldn't be worried about that, because the chances of us scoring 2 goals is going to be really, really slim. However, for us to get into that position, he's going to have to go for it in some way, shape or form, no matter what these smart tactics might be. He's going to have to attack. He really is. And I understand he's probably caught between a rock and a hard place. He's probably thinking, if I go out there and I just attack Alonso's team and they score an early goal, and it's going to be 3-0, it's a long old night for everybody, really, isn't it? But he's going to have to provide some sort of attacking threat to them. Myself and Gio did the preview a couple of days ago, and I was speaking about it, and as you saw during the preview, if you'd watched it, I was under the impression that Jarrod Bowen might start, and he was very much in the plans of my team. And then Gio said, "Well, he's unlikely to play," and I said, I think my words were, "Well, we're screwed then. West Ham are screwed then," and I meant what I said at the time, because I felt he was that important, because I just did not see a situation where anybody else could be shoehorned into that team and turned into an attacker. To lose Emerson's a big thing. You could put him on the left wing, he can do a job. We've seen that. But I think with Bowen there, to have a front line of Bowen, Kudus and Antonio gives us some options. We only had a glimmer of Antonio against Jonathan Tah, but I don't think it looked good for Tah. It helped Tah very much. I don't think it was good. I wanted to see more of it. We didn't get to see much of it. I think Antonio can win that battle. I think if you get Antonio running at him and you get Kudus running at him as well, then you're going to have some real attacking impetus. I think he's going to need to get Kudus central as much as he can. How he's going to do that within the parameters of what I've just said, I don't know. But his long shooting could become a factor. I mean, they're allowed to shoot from wherever, aren't they? Leverkusen, they're certainly encouraged to have a long shot. I'm not saying West Ham are discouraged from a long shot, but any sort of shots on target would be nice in this game. I don't know. Look, I'm going up there. Hopefully I'll see lots of you up there as well. And I'm hoping to have a good night. I'm hoping that we come away with victory. But it is hope. It's not expectation. They are an excellent team. And we have handicapped ourselves by putting ourselves in this situation. I'm not going to go on about the squad again. I've discussed it over and over again. I'm not saying I won't discuss it anymore. But it's, I don't think it matters today. It doesn't matter today. Because today it's all about him getting some people on the pitch. It did make me laugh, actually. So he was announcing who'd been training. So Bowen's training. And Calvin Phillips is training as well. Hooray! Great. And there you go. Do you know what? Now's not the time. I'm not going to talk about Calvin Phillips. I can't really see a situation where he uses him. I'd love to see him, by the way. I will say something positive. I'd love to see Calvin Phillips get put on a substitute and score a winner. I would absolutely love that. I'd love it for West Ham. I'd love it for Calvin Phillips. Do you know what? As cynical as I am, and as much as David Moyes has annoyed me, not him directly, but the fact that the pack of wolves are out in response from David Moyes and his henchmen there, as much as it's annoyed me, as much as his tactics and the transfer window and everything else has annoyed me recently, I would be delighted for him. Absolutely delighted. I'd be delighted for me and you first. I'd be delighted for the team. But I would be delighted for him. And do you know what? I would even accept it, because I think it would be a certain... Do you know what? Actually, I don't think we'd get the smugness. I don't think he'd deliver it. Again, I think his cronies would deliver it on his behalf. But I'd take it. I would. I'd say fair enough. Because this is what Stuart Pearce alluded to, that David Moyes can go out on a high. He actually said it. If David Moyes wins the European trophy again, that's been discussed, that's been talked about, there's no doubt about it. Which again is another little insight into the mindset. So he knows the value of winning a trophy and going out on a high. Which makes it weird why he didn't do it last season. But he clearly fancies himself. And I do think he feels affronted. I do feel that he thinks that he's getting unjust criticism, that he's underappreciated. He's not appreciated at all. And I don't think that's the case, because I don't think every West Ham fan wants him gone. You only got to look through the comments. There is some support for David Moyes. But it is a minority. There is a minority of support. Most people are not particularly impressed with what's happened this season, has to be said. But that doesn't mean people aren't grateful for the trophy win. I think that both things can be true. And I think when you're trying, like the media are doing, when you're trying to force an opinion on someone, project one, not a force an opinion, when you're trying to, basically, let's concede and let's accept that the mainstream media aren't listening to what we're saying. They're not. They don't give a damn, all right? So what they're trying to do is, rather than listen to our opinion and take it, they're going to project one onto us. And I think when you're projecting you're projecting an opinion onto someone that they don't hold, you're always going to make it binary. Because you're not going to make it nuanced. If you were nuanced, you're probably quite reasonable. And if you're reasonable, you're going to listen to the argument in the first place. So it is going to be that West Ham fans don't appreciate anything that David Moyes has done. So, of course, they hate him and they don't even appreciate the Conference League win or what he's done for West Ham. I mean, it's a load of rubbish. It's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not true. But it doesn't matter. If you're going to lie about someone, you don't care that it makes sense. But West Ham fans have been lied about a lot this week. A lot. And so clearly we're going to come back fighting in a way that we do. But I do think the stadium's going to be behind him tomorrow. I really do. I think the stadium's going to be behind the team. I think the stadium's going to be loud. And we will do our part, but then David Moyes and the team have got to do their part. Score first. Score first. Score first at London Stadium. Make that 2-1. And I think, we used to talk about Upton Park under lights. It's never going to be Upton Park, London Stadium. But I think you may well find that the atmosphere turns very, very special indeed. And they're going to be loud, the Leverkusen fans. They are. Those German fans, they come over, they're loud. They all are. But they'll put a bit of nerves in there. We start singing. You never know. It's unlikely. I know. People are going to be typing. What are you talking about, Gonzo? You're probably not typing like that, are you? Probably not on the keyboard. Probably on your phone. Gonzo, what are you talking about? You idiot. You never know.